Hello and welcome back to Football Kentron, the only English language podcast dedicated to Armenian football. Your hosts are here, Adam, Chadens, Armen, back together, the gang, ahead of what is to be a very, very big week of Armenian football. But first, before we get into the episode, let's discuss the recent events where Armenia was under attack by Azerbaijan. Female soldier Anush Apetyan, filmed enduring war crimes and humiliation, was made an example, in quotes, by Azeri Turks as a message to Armenians worldwide. To them, we say, you won't succeed. All you want to do is terrorize and paralyze us and our lives. You want to suck the lives out of those you can't kill firsthand, but you won't. Each time you try to commit another genocide, you spark the flame inside of all of us even further. You tried to make an example out of her. Well, that you did. Anush Apetyan, we will never forget her. We will never forget you. We will live our lives in honor of the ones that were stripped of. Say her name. We are all Anush Apetyan. We have a lot to discuss today and a lot of good things going on in and around Armenian football. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you both doing?
We're doing. I don't know how, but we are. And yeah, we gotta go.
We're good. We're hoping for the best for political side and football side. They're both unfortunately connected.
Huge.
Huge. Yeah, very, very big week. And we'll start off with what is probably the best news of the day. The amazing first ever victory in European competition for an Armenian club. Pyunik became the first Armenian club to win in UEFA competition at any level in their 2-0 win against Slovan Bratislava. Artak Dasyan scored the opening goal in the match. He also scored Pyunik's first goal in European competition in the last match, becoming the first ever goal scorer for an Armenian club as an Armenian in UEFA club competition twice in a row now. After Dashan's great goal, less than 2 minutes later, Yusuf Otobanjo, who we have criticized, or I have criticized, I should say, on this show for his lack of a final product in many situations. I still think he has a lot of improvement to make, especially in the passing front. But he scored what ended up being the UEFA Europa Conference League goal of the week. It was a strike from 35 yards out. He did a body feint to get past the defender. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous goal.
Yeah.
Let's talk Pyunik. Armen, we'll start with you. Currently in second place behind FC Basel, who defeated Pyunik 3-1 in the first match. 2-0 win against Tigran Balaciana, Slovan Bratislava, coached by Vladimir Weiss, who there's some sort of Armenian juju magic against this guy. he just can't beat anything Armenian related. What are your thoughts on the game? How do you assess how Pyunik played? And based on what we talked about in the last episode, have your thoughts about where Pyunik can end up changed?
Yeah. Definitely so. Yeah, they definitely have changed. I don't know what happened. I don't know. But bro, they are the real deal. They are in it to win it. I mean, they're not joking around. If the first game against Basel was already a good sign, because the 3-1 defeat at San Diego Park, legendary pitch in Western Europe in Switzerland. It was already a good game by our boys. 2 of the 3 goals scored by them were basically helped a little bit by the ref, and Dasyan scored a lovely collective team play, finishing it himself. That game in itself was already a great sign. And then they go on to beat and, for the most part, dominate with a tactical masterclass. Props to Melikian in that regard against a Central European giant and staple as is Slovan Bratislava, that of course they are not playing at their best, but they still have great names and on the individual front. They surpass Pyunik by a long margin in market value and names and all that. But bro, the cohesion and the grit that Pyunik has, and they still are missing some key players of the new transfers. Now, if you want, we can discuss later or not, I don't know. But they signed like 3 or 4 players that are a little bit out of practice. Then that when they pick up form, they are a huge addition to any Armenian club. So they have very realistic chances to making it through the group stage to playoffs.
I agree. Chadens, now looking forward ahead, there are 2 upcoming fixtures for Pyunik, a double header, as they call it here in America, against the bottom of the table side. Their name is escaping me. Armen? Oh my God, how am I forgetting their name? Zalgiris. Yeah, Zalgiris of Lithuania, right? And aren't they the first ever representation of a Lithuanian club in European competition, if I'm
They
not
are.
mistaken?
I believe so.
They are.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I think
And
they are.
actually, that was surprising because they're one of the biggest teams in the Baltics, if not the biggest one, and they're making Europe at the same time as Munich. I would have thought they had before, but
No. And their first 2 matches was a 1-0 loss against Basel in the last round, meaning defensively they're looking probably a little more sound than Pyunik, and a 0-0 draw against Slovan Bratislava. So it's looking like a very defensively heavy team. But maybe against Pyunik they'll try to open up, and that could probably play into Pyunik's hands. But Chadens, Zalgiris going to play them twice in a row now next month, in what could potentially be a big game changer if Basel end up getting if Basel end up taking 6 points from Slovan, and it could potentially see Pyunik maybe cement second place really early on. What do you think the likelihood of that is? How do you think Pyunik will do in those matches?
Personally, from what I've seen with clubs playing this 2 in a row kind of thing, it's crucial. Now there's here we have a bit of an advantage this year because the World Cup is taking place in November. The games are packed, so now the closer that they are playing, the more the form of the players, the mentality, let's say, is gonna remain the same. So if this game, the next one, which is at home again, if Pyunik get a good result again, it's gonna be a very good turnaround of what we're expecting. The next one, they'll probably manage a draw or maybe even a win.
I think, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, 6 points here is what we want, but 4 points wouldn't be bad either, right? Like they always say, you got to win your home games, and you got to take something from away. Armen, what do you think about that? Would you? Obviously, we prefer 6 points, but do you think 4 points would be enough to see Pyunik take that second place spot?
I think it would. And it's realistic. And as I said, once the secret weapon 3 or 4, I believe it's 4, experienced, seasoned with a top 15 league players that Pyunik just signed, it's very realistic. We have 4 players that are a huge concealed advantage for Pyunik that still haven't fully adapted to the system and are yet to be seen by our competition in conference league, and that's a huge advantage. I mean, the full potential of the team is still not there. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's very true. And looking forward, I think it's a couple things we can note here. So Pyunik have already managed more points in the Conference League than Alashkert did in 6 matches last season. No surprise. We all know that Alashkert team was not good.
Definitely.
Also, in terms of game changers, the amount of prize money that Pyunik have won is already been €500,000 on top of the almost 3 million they got from qualifying. So we're talking about a game-changing amount of money already. And if we do get another 6 points against Zalgiris or 4 points against Zalgiris, that's another €700,000 right there. That's a lot of money in terms of APL. And hopefully, Pyunik invest that wisely and not just use it to buy foreign talent, but help their domestic talent out. Really exciting stuff. As of now, Pyunik are sitting in second place on 3 points behind FC Basel, who are on 6 points. Of course, the club that we all anticipated to be top of the table. And below them is Slovan Bratislava, followed by Zalgiris. Gentlemen, moving forward, we have
hold up. We gotta make the shout out. Otubanjo, bro. Big respect. No. I mean, This is really uncommon to see non-Armenians actively support our rightful cause, because that's what it is.
And before that, scoring a super goal, which was amazing.
Definitely. I mean, goal of the week, and on top of that, having the Stones to celebrate it the way he did, with a huge shirt or top saying "I stand with Armenia." That, my respect. And from Football Kentron, thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf Otubanjo. Also, quick side note: because of this Pyunik qualifying for the Conference League, the under-19 teams actually had the opportunity to qualify for the UEFA Youth League, and Pyunik's under-19 team was drawn up against none other than FC Nantes under-19, where young Gorman Velan actually played not too long ago. The first leg was in Nantes, and Nantes won 2-0 after a resilient first half by the Armenian side. Nantes scored both of their goals in the second half, and they travel to Yerevan this upcoming week for the second leg. Although we don't anticipate much. At all. Yeah, it's not a bad result, and it's also even more crazy when you think that for an under-19 side, most of the players that were playing were 16 and 17 years old.
Yeah, so, and it was away as well.
So it's really solid. Good for Pyunik, their youth team, and a lot of Armenia under-17 national team players getting a very, very good experience to go abroad and play in a place like Nantes. And who knows? There's definitely a lot of scouting that gets done in the youth league. So maybe 1 or 2 players had a standout performance on Pyunik's end and get signed for another club. But we'll see. Moving forward, your boy Armen, Sargis Adamyan. He's finally picking it up in Germany again. How's he doing?
Great. He's finally back in the men, which is the difference, because he started off pretty good with assists here, assists there, in all competitions, playing 30 minutes here, 15 there. All in all, good, solid performances with goal contributions, direct goal contributions, but not a lot of goals themselves. Well, now he's back 2 in a row, I believe. One against in Bundesliga. I don't remember who they played, but Sago started and scored, and then in Conference League as well, scored against Czech Republic Slovacko, which is ironic because the name is literally means Slovakian, but they're from the Czech Republic. Okay, fun fact aside, Sako scored, but the thing is, he wasn't called to the national team, and now there have been a lot of rumors, especially now accentuated by his separation from national team squad list announcement. Um, that he has been in some sort of a locker room fight with Joaquin Caparros, the Armenian National Team head coach. We still don't know how true that is. We still don't know who claims what. But what we do know is what we saw on the last game against Scotland, the 4-1 loss, the very accidented 4-1 loss in Yerevan last time out. That sucked. Well, I don't know if he started or not, but when he was on the pitch, he was visibly and clearly frustrated with especially Camo Vanessian because of Camo's lack of football IQ.
We'll get into the national team in a bit. We'll talk about that. That's definitely the main part of today's show. But just bringing it back to Adamian in the Bundesliga, he's not starting games. Their lineup's out. Kickoff is in 6 minutes. He's not. He's going to be treated as a super sub, pretty much in every game. He did start in Europe, which is good, which is great. But obviously we want him starting in the Bundesliga also. I think it's going to take him maybe deeper into the season, just a little bit of patience, and I think he will be starting a lot more games once the European, the lack of rest from Europe kicks in. I think the rotation is going to have to be a lot more prevalent. But a good start for Sacco, 2 goals, and it was against Wolfsburg, by the way. I looked it up, so it was his goal was against Wolfsburg.
There you go. But bro, super sub ain't bad, bro. As long as he keeps racking them up and getting the stats and the performances, I would much rather have him play a standout 30 minutes in Bundesliga each week than starting and getting tired and playing 70 minutes with nothing to show for it.
I agree, but I would agree further if he actually played for the national team. Anyway,
definitely. We will get into that, as you said. Come on.
All right. Next up, Norberto Briasco Balaciana of Boca Juniors.
Feel bad for him.
Was
when you need them.
Yeah, it started off really good. He had his first start in 9 months.
Yeah.
He scored a brilliant goal while falling down in typical Beto Briasco style. And then he came on in the Super Classico. Right? He came off the bench, or did he start against River?
No, off the bench.
Came off the bench, 30-minute cameo, and then he re-aggravated his injury. He was actually back on the bench, and he was crying. And you got to feel for the guy because his rehabilitation was really difficult. He's had a really tough time at Boca. He's been criticized, but also he's just been rather unlucky. Hopefully, I don't know. Good. Just hopefully he recovers well. Of course, we would like to see him in the national team, but we know as long as he's in Argentina, that the likelihood is lower and lower, especially when he's playing for a club like Boca.
I think the pressure of playing there got to him, and we see that sort of thing happening to a lot of players. Well, in this case, it was very evident. That's why I wouldn't be opposed to a move to MLS or Liga MX in Mexico because, he's already the other side of the Atlantic, so might as well move to a place where he is a little easier and then can, feel a little less pressured and against weaker opposition in a way. Hopefully, I don't know, man.
I would love, like I've said it before, I would love to see him come play for the Galaxy. I think they could really use him. Their current left winger, I think his name is Grancier. They picked him up from a French second division side. He sucks. He's not good. Not good at all. And I wouldn't want to see him at LAFC because he would be competing with like Carlos Vela and Gareth Bale and a couple of other people for a spot. And I'd rather see him go to the Galaxy. play with Chicharito and with who's that? Ricky Puig, and I think it'll be good for him. But anyway, we'll see. Charents, our boy wonder, Eduard Spertsyan. What is going on with him in our? I'm not going to call it our favorite country in the world because definitely not. How is Edo doing?
Freaking amazing. When does he stop? Like literally a few minutes ago, as we're recording this, he scored a goal and assisted another goal. So that makes it 10 games, 8 goals and 3 assists. So 11 goal contributions in 10 games. And that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop, and we all know it. We all know he's just going to keep on going. I don't know what's next for him. There's so many options for him. There's so many options. If they come knocking, he better break those doors down.
He's averaging something like a goal or an assist every 70 minutes now. That's insane.
Immense.
Yeah, and so we're talking. I mean, just think about that. If this was any non-Armenian, if he was Spanish, if he was German, if he was Brazilian, he would be 100 million going to Real Madrid right now.
Yeah, Spertsyan signs for Real Madrid from Flamengo for, I don't know, 35 million because he's got huge potential.
Yeah, with a 100 million buyout clause. Like that. That's literally That's literally what we're seeing here. It's nuts, dude. Like his stats don't lie, bro.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And then I'm trying to find so right now, according to FootMob, he is the best performing player. He has an 8.28 rating so far on average this season. That's better than most people. That's an above average rating. Average rating is in the 7.0, around there. He's the club's top goal scorer with 8 goals, and he is the club's top assister, joint with Baniac with 3 assists. And of course, goal contributions wise with Krasnodar, he is the highest. In the Russian Premier League right now, they're in 4th place. Only CSKA Moscow, Khorik Bayramyan's Rostov, and Zenit St. Petersburg are ahead of them. Meanwhile, Arsen Zakharyan's Dinamo are in 6th place. Right. In terms of the league as a whole, he is now joint top goal scorer with Kinsey Promes at 8, and he is 1 assist off from being joint top assister. But in terms of goals plus assists, he's currently joint top again with Kinsey Promes. And he is also the 2nd highest rated player in the league, behind Vendel of Zenit St. Petersburg. So we're talking about a kid that's 22 years old.
Former Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah. A kid that's 22 years old.
Yep.
Can't stop scoring, assisting, is Armenian, dominating this league right now. And what's next for him? What's going to happen next? We know national team is coming up. He's suspended for the game against Ukraine, which sucks, obviously. But we do have that game away to Ireland, and considering it's League B, there's going to be a lot of attention, a lot of attention on that game.
Plus, it's good to have him rested.
I agree. It's good to have him rested, and we'll talk about, of course, that Ireland game further. But what are we expecting here? I mean, what is he? First of all, how many goals is he going to finish on? Do you guys think this season? He's on 8. So
are we actually predicting now?
Yeah, let's do it. Give me a prediction.
Oh my God, no.
I think it can surpass the 15.
I hope so.
Well, doesn't it depend if he leaves in January?
That's the thing. Do you expect him to leave in January? Do you think he'll?
No, I don't think so. Because he didn't leave this summer. He waited. He's patient. How many did you say, Armin?
Well, for sure he's gonna surpass Yura Movsisyan, also former Krasnodar hero. That I believe he was his highest amount was, I don't know, 14 in a season. Well, Edo is definitely gonna surpass that. Not being a number 9 or a box player,
There's that too,
it's
yeah.
crazy, bro. And as we said last time out, Heno it was a similar kind of player at Shakhtar, but the thing is, as we said last time out, Shakhtar was miles away from any other UPL side at the time, whilst Krasnodar had a very much more difficult time, and it's much more competence and even the RPL. There are like easily 8 teams at the same level as Krasnodar, and even then, Edo is one of easily top 3 players in the RPL.
I mean, statistically speaking, he's top 2
17 and 1.
in every regards. Jonathan says 17
Yeah.
goals. And to finalize that statistic for you, Ottoman, or to confirm rather, in the 13-14 season, Movsesian scored 16 goals. So if he can pass that, he's already halfway there, man. I would like to personally see him assist a little bit more. He is clearly a goal scoring number 10 more than like a goal creating number 10. But I think this further reinforces my idea that he needs to be playing way higher up on the pitch for the national team. I think at this point, if you keep on playing him as a 6, I'm sorry, Caparros, but that is fucking stupid. Because this kid is on fire, and you need to play your best players where they play best.
We'll get the lineups and tactics in a little bit. But yeah, bro, speaking of the RPL, before we move on, something that went kind of under the radar here is Horik Bayramian. You mentioned it. In Rostov is, top 3 of the table. And Horik is actually, as you well mentioned a few months ago, I believe, not playing wings anymore, not playing wings any longer, which is why last time out at the national team camp, he was also deployed as a central midfielder. That's because he's doing so at Rostov, as you said. And under this new scheme, he is actually leading and pulling the strings for the club to be one of the best clubs in Russia with a relatively lower budget. They used to have a much higher budget, Rostov. I don't know what happened, but they had a lot of players leave even before the whole Russian invasion of Ukraine thing. Rostov was already lowering their game, and even so, Horik is pulling the strings, bro. And even today, he scored a goal, his first goal of the season at club level, and joins the national team for his newfound role as a central midfielder in great form.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I would like to see. I would like to see them switch. I want to see Bayramian playing that central midfield role and Spertsyan further up the pitch. And I think that should be the expectation from us. And hopefully Caparros sees that, because I mean, it's at this point, it's just ridiculous. He has to do it. Speaking of, quickly, news that I don't think we covered in the last episode, because I believe this news came out right after. Eduard Spertsyan is actually the highest valued Armenian player now in the market. He's officially surpassed.
Yeah, that's new. Yeah.
He's worth about $10 million on the transfer market.
Prophecy has been fulfilled.
Are you sure it's dollars? Isn't it more?
No, I'm looking at transfer market right now.
It should be more, but he's Armenian.
Yeah, it should be more. And so he's also passed Lucas Zeller.
I mean, in terms of dollars, that's like it would be more, but okay.
No, it's 10 million.
In objective terms, Edo is worth easy 35 mil. Easy.
Yeah. Easily. It's insane.
Question. He might be valued that much, but like how doesn't he have a contract expiring next year or?
No, so he actually extended his contract to 2024. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we read figures at one point that that clubs were offering something around 12 or 13 million for him this past summer.
Yeah.
And Krasnodar rejected it because they're asking for more. And just for perspective, of course, I hate to play this card, but I'm going to keep on making this comparison because I think it's the best comparison we can make. Zakharyan, Arsene Zakharyan, was being purchased by Chelsea for 15 million. So,
euros, that's it. By the way.
Yeah, 15 million euros. And Krasnodar rejected 13 million euros for Spertsyan because they were like, they said he's worth a lot more than that.
Well, so, they're good thinking. That's good.
Good thinking on there. And you know what? A lot of people criticized his decision to stay in Krasnodar, but it's clearly working out. So
I don't. It's working so much. Yeah, I don't.
Plus, they're not him. They're not in his shoes. I mean, you gotta understand the nuances of this.
Yeah, you put on the boots and then talk. All right. Moving on to the main course, the main dish of this episode. The Armenian National Team squad has been announced for the matches against the Ukraine and the Republic of Ireland in the UEFA Nations League. As it stands, Armenia is bottom, facing relegation back to League C. But there is an opportunity to make that change and to stay in League B, which was the objective, of course.
Yeah.
Starting in the goalkeeping spots, we have David Yurchenko, Stanislav Bushnev, both of Pyunik, and Arsen Beglarian. Chadens, defenders, who was called up?
Defenders, Varasat Haroyan, the captain and player of the year, Armenian player of the year. Hovannes Ampartsumyan, his teammate in Anorthosis. Andre Chalisier, Jordi Ararat, Taron Voskanyan, Hram Mogoyan. Anyway, Stjepan Makretian, the potentially Van Dijk. Giray Margarian, well-deserved captain of Urartu. Hagop Hagopian, formerly Urartu. Yeah,
Midfield.
These are the defenders, actually.
Midfield, Armen. Who got called up?
Horen Bayramian, Eduard Spertsyan, Edgar Babayan, Attack the Lion Grigorian, the other Attack Pyunik, and UEFA Conference League top goal scorer, Artak Tashian, Gare Muradian, my boy, Hovannes Harutyunyan, Sergei Mkrtchyan, Aram's boy, and Serop Kalstian, I would say Football Kentron future star, future bro.
Nominee.
Yeah.
It's a graduate.
The forwards to round out the list: Vahan Bichakchian, Lucas Zelarayan, Giray Sharoyan, and Tigran Barserian. Boys, let's break this down first by section of the pitch, give our thoughts, move through, and then we'll preview the opposition. Goal, I think we could skip. We all knew where this was headed. David Yurchenko, he's probably going to start both games. Been doing, I would say, well in the Conference League. He made some crazy good saves against Slovan and against Basel. I don't think anything crazy over there. So let's start in defense, where there was already some things that we would have done differently, of course. But some good call-ups, Armen. We're talking about, of course, Margarian, Hakopian, and Jordi Ararat, who you had mentioned in some of our discussions previously that you think that those three should be called up, and very notably, both Hovanesians who received red cards dropped from the squad completely.
Yeah, that was a welcome change. I mean, before diving into the defense itself, a general outlook of the squad, I would say is a huge step forward. I mean, yeah, maybe it's lacking a little bit of more inside the box goal scoring firepower, but the squad as a whole, there are like, I don't know, only three players we know don't deserve to be there, while usually like after Henrik Mkhitaryan's statement last year, for a year it was way over three. It was like 6 bad players called up each time. Well, now you can tell I don't know why, I don't know how, but Caparros is going back to having much more freedom to choose, and I am really glad with the squad. Now about defense, remember Varastat Haroyan, our captain, is suspended for the game against Ukraine, the opener of this window. So I would say, all things considered, of course we might be wrong because this is wishful thinking and based on merit on our side as always, objective and merit based, nothing else, which doesn't always end up. It's not what happens on the pitch, but my opinion is that Stjopa Mkhitaryan and Andre Chalishir should be the starting center backs while Taroyan is suspended. And uh, considering form and of course talent, and then since Chalishir is not really used to starting a lot and has been dealing with a lot of injuries, I would rest him against Ukraine. And Stjopa, that is in peak form and fitness, can start both games in a row against Ireland as well once Haroyan is back from suspension. And as you mentioned, right backs are Hampartsumian and Ararat, and left backs are welcome newcomers. Hagop Hagopian back after I believe his last game was for the national team. The last game was against Macedonia when we won promotion in 2020. In 2020, November 2020.
Yeah, he played
And
left wing in that game. Yeah, he played left wing in that game.
and
He
went
did it
out
really well.
injured and and he had a great game. And you know what? This is actually something that most people don't know. Caparros was asked about him a few times and why he was snubbing him from the list this year and last year, and he said that he didn't have the built, the strength, the body strength to perform at this high level, and that's why he got injured a lot, which is true. But this changes now that at FCAA, at Ararat Armenia, he is strictly playing left back, which was only one of his positions while at Urartu and while being captain of Urartu. His main position was the midfield. But now he's reconverted to strictly left back, and there he can perform with his build.
Now,
his build is not going to be a problem in this case.
Now, looking at this list, obviously the two names that stick out here are two consistent call-ups we've seen of Daron Voskana and Herad Makoyan. Now, you were saying you would play Chalishir and Mkhitaryan, Stjopa,
Definitely.
As center back. Now, the issue here with that is that in the 3 out of the 4 Nations League matches, we have played with 5 at the back, with 3 central defenders. And looking at the squad list, we have 5 central defenders called up and 2 wing backs on either side. That tells me that Joaquin Caparros is going to be playing a 5 at the back again.
Look, you're right actually. As long as both Makoyan and Voskanyan are not on the pitch at the same time, I'm happy. I mean,
see that I think they will be.
That's the worst part. Yeah, all things
I
considered,
think they will. I don't think Chalishir will start. I hope he does.
I don't know. Bro. I mean,
I'm getting a feeling too for that.
It did start and keep a clean sheet last weekend on the Danish league, and he's not bad, and he's keeping his form and fitness. And at the national team, he's much more important. Especially, even so, if you consider Vato being suspended for the first game. The last time out against Ukraine, actually, Voskanyan and Makoyan started both and played the full game, of course. It wasn't a bad game per se, but now we got a better squad. I don't see why they should both start. Last time out, Chalishir was injured, actually.
True. Moving on to the midfield. Chorens, lot of options here and a couple of new faces. But if we're talking about selecting a midfield, we always talk about balance, right? We talk about having a defensive midfielder in there. We talk about being able to play a combination of players that work well together. If we're playing 5 at the back, obviously that takes one player away from the midfield or up top that we could potentially play. Seeing as though a few of our players are on incredible form, how do you pick a midfield out of these players? You have Eduard Spertsyan, who should be starting every single game. Of course, he's not going to start against Ukraine due to suspension. But you also have Artak Dasyan, who is the Conference League top goal scorer. You have Hovhannes Harutyunyan, who has been pulling the strings for Pyunik. You have Edgar Babayan, who's a dynamic winger. You have Goran Bayraman, who's coming in on very good form as well. And then you have a couple of young players in Sergei Makuchan and Serov Galustyan. How do you pick a midfield when you have so many players that are in such good form? And who would you pick to start?
The strategy against the team that you're facing. Ukraine will be playing open, I suspect. But the thing is, if they're wise enough, they would know that most of the players are actually coming from a strong place. Most of the players have scored a goal or have played games, and they're coming with a good psychology. So Ukraine will be aware of what's coming. The thing is, how Caparros would like to play. My personal feeling is that I'm afraid Artak Grigorian will start. The thing is, it's not that bad that he will start, but there are, like you said, a lot of good options to be used. Now, 5 at the back is going to be a bit tough to play with 5 at the back. However, Hovhannes Harutyunyan personally will take the place in the center. He's a CM, right, if I'm not mistaken. But the CDM role would still be suitable for him. We saw what kind of an engine he is. And next to him, having Artak Grigorian might actually be a good thing, even though I'm not so confident in this option. Plus, Artak Grigorian is coming from a team that's on top of the league right now. Edgar Babayan is having a good influence, which I hope actually he plays. So the main name for me is definitely Hovhannes Harutyunyan, possibly Artak Dasyan as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I agree with him. I agree because look, think about it. We have 2 very good midfield players here that are playing European football, which can't be said for most of this squad, bar Andre Chalisier, who is playing in Europe as well. And the other player we have is Sargis Adamian, who is not even in the squad, and we'll discuss that. And they have both so far, individually speaking, had standout performances, especially Artak Dasyan, who has scored in both games. We know that Caparros isn't afraid to start Dasyan, and honestly, considering his form and considering Eduard Spertsyan is suspended, why not play that duo? Why not play Harutyunyan in that Spertsyan deeper role and play Dasyan next to him? They have that chemistry. You have a suspended player in one of those positions. Why not capitalize there? Armin, what are your thoughts?
I don't. As much as I would like to see Hovo Harutyunyan, that as you guys mentioned, he's been a standout for Pyunik, and not in vain he was praised by Dejan Stankovic, former UEFA Champions League champion winner with Inter and currently Red Star coach. No, formerly Red Star coach, but he watched Hovo Harutyunyan in action firsthand, and he praised him as a Pyunik standout. Sure, and he's young. He deserves to be in a UEFA top 15 league, hands down, and for sure there's UEFA Conference League season is going to be a great scouting opportunity for him. But I don't think he is going, especially under this 5-2-3 scheme. I don't think it's going to overtake Horik Bayramyan's spot, especially against Ukraine, because if we mirror the game against Ukraine, the way we lost that game in 25 minutes span of loss of focus, I'm going to get into Jordi Ararat, by the way, as well, because he was one of the weakest links in that game. But the way we played that game was good, actually. And had it not been for the poor way in which Cap actually managed rotation during that window, where we spent day and night, time and again, highlighting and remarking how important rotation was going to be. They did not handle it well. And a game that was there for us, for the taking, ended up 3-0 against us over a span of 25 minutes. Well, Horik Bayramyan, playing at CM, was one of the best players there in that game. Of course, he was super tired and had to leave, but a fully rested Horik Bayramyan can play a 90-minute game against Ukraine in central mid, maybe alongside Hovar Tunyan, I don't know, but most probably alongside either the Lion Grigorian, of course, or Karen Muradian, that is in sick form and captaining Ararat Armenia as well. Do not forget about him either. He's actually one of the ones that can play 2 games in a row now, and is fit enough to do so. So yeah, I would start Horik Bayramyan against Ukraine, hands down. Maybe Hovar Tunyan can start against Ireland, considering fitness and rotation. That wouldn't be out of the question, though. Yeah. I don't know, about Babayan, he is definitely not a midfielder, especially, again, considering the game against Ukraine last time out. Definitely one of the standouts on that game. If you ask me, I would say 3 players were key to holding down Armenia until the 60th minute. 2 of them were benched at the 60th minute, coincidentally, not by coincidence, actually. Bayramyan, as mentioned. Babayan, that was the pivot and only player in deep attack. He was alone against a 4-man Ukraine defense, and he was bossing them. And he was out of form. Now he's in way better form. He can start at 9. And the third one, UEFA Conference League top goal scorer, Artak Tashian. He, in my opinion, he's going to play wing again. Last time out, he played wing against Ukraine, and it worked out pretty well. He he was amazing, and yeah, that's how I see it. This time out, maybe there will be a place for Lucas Elarayan to start as well. I don't know if it's as a 4-9 and maybe drop Babayan to the wing or not, or maybe he's going to change the scheme, or maybe even as a CM.
That's the big question, and rolling into the attack.
That's why I don't see Hovar Tunyan starting, at least not against Ukraine. I don't know if this is really important, especially because I don't think it's going to happen, but Hovan Patsumian should start at right back, especially, as I said, Ararat didn't play was one of the weakest links against Ukraine, and really unimpressive last time out. We know his capabilities. We know he has a lot to add to the squad on a good day. On a bad day, he's the weak link. So that's going to be up to Cap's man management.
True. I think, considering the physicality of Ireland, I think he would be a good fit to play against Ireland. But again, I think if Hovo can play 180 minutes, I think he should.
Yeah, definitely.
But if something is to happen to Hovo, hopefully Jordi can step in and do the job, because we know he can. Okay. Now, moving on to the attack. I think this is where a lot of the controversy of this squad has come up. We have Bichakjan, Zelarayan, Shahoyan, and Tigran Barserian. The big missing name here is, of course, FC Cologne striker Sargis Adam, which Armen had alluded previously that there was some sort of disagreement or something between him and Caparros. And if you think about it a little bit, being a striker in Caparros' style of play, in his system, I could see how that's frustrating. He hardly gets any touches. He hardly gets a look on goal because it is, it is a counter-attacking style. It is a lot of defending. It's a lot of chasing the ball. And we have said this before. Sargis Adamian is a striker that thrives in teams that hold the ball. That's when he plays good football. Not when you're defending for 88 minutes. So I could see where the frustration comes from. Do I agree that he should not have been called up? No, I think it's fucking stupid. Of course he should be called up.
Yeah, but we don't know who took what decision, who said what. The only thing I saw is his frustration with Gamo Vanessian on the pitch against Scotland. That's the only thing I saw.
But now you're looking at this list of strikers that we have, guys, Chadens. There is not a single actual number 9 on this list. You have Vahan, who's a number 10 and a right winger. You have Lucas, who is a true number 10. You have Gira Sharoyan, who's a left winger, and you have Tigran Barsegan, who is also a right winger. Arguably.
And I would add Edgar Babayan.
Edgar Babayan who is listed as a midfielder in this squad, who's actually plays as a number 9. So we have a one striker who's listed as a midfielder, and no striker that's listed as a striker that's an actual number 9.
and four midfielders listed as strikers.
Yeah. So what are we doing here? What's going on here, Chadens? We know that let's assume Caparros is playing a 5-3-2 because that's what he has done in 3 out of the 4 matches, including the victory against the Republic of Ireland. Let's say 5-3-2. So you have your 5 defenders already picked. You have your 3 midfielders already picked. You're looking at your 2 up top. Who would you play there, Chadens?
Buchnev. No,
that's something you don't even joke about.
Do you play a winger? As striker? Do you play?
Realistically looking, Zelara is gonna start.
Yeah. Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, Lucas has started once, right? And he played as he was one of the 2 strikers up top, right?
He started a few times. One I can recall at least once as a 4-9 and once as a central midfielder. And I think he performed well both times. I think that the worst of him was seen off the bench. Especially when games were already decided. But I can remember the game against Iceland. He was the 1-1 that we should have won, but there were a lot of players that shouldn't have been there. Starting with, as much as we love him, Henrik Mkhitaryan,
who missed a sitter. That Lucas.
No, that was actually that was against Romania later on. But yeah.
No. That was against Iceland. Lucas crossed the ball from the left wing with his left foot, and all Henrik needed to do was get something on that, and he just completely missed the ball.
I think it was against Romania.
Yeah,
I'm almost certain. I'm almost certain because that time Heno was the 4-9 and Lucas was playing CM. And as I said, both times against Iceland and against Romania, Lucas played well. Out of position, as I said, once up top and once below. But I think the key here is going to be the 4-9 because going over other players, Vahan Bachakyan playing as a 4-9 has always resulted in good stuff, especially over the last calendar year. Edgar Babayan, as always, he was only once against Ukraine and he was a standout player. And of course, Shaoyan and Barsegan are probably not going to be a 4-9. So I
Mhm.
think the 149 is going to be between Bachakjian, Zelarayan, and Babayan. And I'm happy with
Okay.
that.
So here's the thing, though. Obviously, we're going to double back to this because this is important. That the fact that Spertsyan is suspended for Ukraine.
Yeah.
You need a midfielder that's pulling the strings. Do you play Hova Harutyunyan or do you play Lucas Zelarayan there? Because if you think about it, Lucas has had a very good season for the Columbus Crew in the MLS. He has 9 goals and 5 assists in 23 matches. 26 matches, excuse me, with 23 starts. He has been honestly exceptional this season. The Crew haven't been overall the best. Their defense has been letting them down a little bit, but Lucas as an individual has been performing very, very good. And we know that MLS is a good level, but no, now we also have Hovo Harutyunyan, who can play a similar role and who is playing in Europe and who is playing really well. Do you start one over the other? Do you play both together? Do you play Lucas up in a higher position where, in my opinion, he's less effective? What's the play here?
Yeah, as you said, it all depends. It all comes down to the scheme and the tactic that Cap's gonna deploy. But as I said, I don't think Hovo Harutyunyan should start, at least not against Ukraine. Horik Bayramyan did really, really great against Ukraine last time out. But since he was tired, he had to be subbed off. But now, rotation, I mean, we are not heading into this game with 2 other games within a week. Before that, we are heading into this game fully rested, and unlike Ukraine, that has a lot more physicality and they're used to this type of demand constantly. Our team is not on that same level, but technically we can meet them and be on par with them. And Horik Bayraman can play a full 90 at CM. It all depends on the scheme, really.
It's
Well,
a
like I
strategy
said,
that Cap is going to pull off.
it's
That's the main thing I see.
it's looking like a 5-3-2, guys. I mean, I don't want to see us play 5 at the back because I don't think we play particularly well with it.
Yeah, it's
Seeing
not
as
point. There's no
we're at
point.
a -7 goal difference playing 5 at the back. It's clearly not working, but we know
Jesus
Cap's
Christ.
not gonna change that. So assume and really anticipate us playing 5 at the back because that's looking like what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be. Well, Tashan and Bayramyan for sure should and are gonna start at the midfield at least at two, as 2 of the 3 midfielders. The one question is who's gonna be the third midfielder? Are you gonna play a more ball position type like Harutyunyan or Zelarayan if you're not gonna play Zelarayan up top, or are you gonna play a more defensive bulldog like Artak Grigoryan or Garen Muradian, or are you gonna play a winger like Serop Kastian or of course Jiro Shaoyan? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean these are all great questions that will be answered soon. So looking at the table for the UEFA Nations League, Ukraine are currently top with 7 points after 3 matches. Followed by Scotland on 6 points after 3 matches. Ireland and Armenia have both played 4 matches, and Ireland sit in 3rd place with 4 points, and Armenia bottom with 3 points. Now, we, of course, host Ukraine. But before we do so, I believe there are, because Scotland and Ukraine have played each other, or are supposed to play each other, rather, they play each other on Wednesday. So the day after this episode comes out, we will see Scotland and Ukraine play each other. That match will, of course, not have the biggest bearing on Armenia's relegation or hopes of staying out of the relegation zone. What is important is on the same day that we play the Ukraine, Scotland play Ireland. And we definitely need a draw there or a Scottish win. I think no question. Because if Ireland win in that game, we are relegated. So it's going to be a really, 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 really nerve-wracking 90 minutes. unless we pull out a result against the Ukraine and beat and get 3 points, then the Scotland versus Ireland matchup doesn't have a bearing on whether we're promoted or relegated. But if we lose that game, if we lose against Ukraine, and if Ireland beats Scotland, we're out. So we can be relegated in the next match day. But of course, that is all based on our performances. Our destiny is still in our own hands.
That's what I was going to say.
So, September 24th, we play against the Ukraine. And after, we travel to Ireland and play them on the 27th. First up, the Ukraine. Last time out, we lost to them 3-0, right? And we lost to them because of what you called, Armen, a lapse in concentration. These Ukrainian players are in good form. Yaramchuk plays for Club Brugge, replaced Sargi Sadamian over there. They have a couple of Shakhtar Donetsk players, a couple of Dynamo Kiev players. Of course, the Ukrainian Premier League has resumed. Milinovsky, who plays for Atalanta, is a solid player. Zinchenko, who's now at Arsenal, having a revitalized career. A solid team from this Ukraine.
Well, you know what? Actually, you mentioned him. Zinchenko is not on the list. Zinchenko, he's not. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I did read something. I didn't dive too deep into that, but so I wanted to check it for myself, and it's true. Zinchenko is out of the list. So is, by the way, Sarki Sadamian's former teammate at Bruges, Eduard Sobol, which is a starting center back for them. They are both out. They both started against Armenia and were among their best players on the 3-0 loss, and they're both out. And another point I was gonna be focusing on, they play Scotland immediately before and after playing Armenia. And from their standpoint, yes, of course, we are the weakest team in the club. They feel like they need to beat us. Politics aside, football-wise, they feel like they must show power by beating the easiest game, by winning the easiest game. But it's not that easy either, because other than the lapse in concentration, they couldn't break us, and we were at our low. We were a very tired team, and they played their starters last time out. Now both Scotland games are the decider ones for them. So, and logically, they should play their best against Scotland before and after playing Armenia. And I'm optimistic. I think we can get 6 points. I mean,
I'm looking at their squad right now, and it's primarily Ukrainian-based players. They have Andrei Lunin from Real Madrid, a B, I believe. He plays for Castilla. He's a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
They have Miolenenko, who plays for Everton. He's a left back. They have Nikolenko Ignatenko, who plays for, I think that's Sochaux. Bordeaux in central midfield. Milinovsky, of course, a wonderful player, and Yaramchuk. So those are obviously the only players that are playing outside of the Ukraine. And Kovalenko, who plays for Spezia.
And Yarmolenko, that is at the post days, the final days of his career. He's playing in Al Ain in the United Arab Emirates. So he's not at the level he used to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, they're a good squad. We know that. They're a good team. But they are not unbeatable. They went out in their last match in the Nations League, and they actually drew 1-1 with Ireland. A revitalized Ireland, I think, at that point, much to our dismay. It's going to be big, and it's going to be a lot closer than we think, because, I mean, only 4 points are separating top and bottom right now. Ukraine are 4 points ahead of us and they're top of the table. Scotland are 3 points ahead of us, and Ireland is only 1 point ahead of us. If we get 6 points out of 6 here, we'll end up on 9, and we will be potentially in second place. I don't think that's going to happen because I believe Scotland has a game in hand and the goal difference isn't looking that favorable. But third place is very, very, very doable, and our destiny is in our own hands at this point. We have to win our matches, and that's the only thing we can do. Now, moving on to the Republic of Ireland, looking at their squad, they've had a lot, individually speaking, of success recently, both on the senior level and on the under-21 level. Their players have been playing in really good places. But this is a team that we have shown that we can beat. This is a team that we have beaten and that we need to beat. I think that's realistically, that's what it comes down to here. We have to go away to Ireland and get the results that we were not able to get in 2011. And it's there. I don't know if there's going to be a psychological thing going on here with the Armenian players. Seeing as I don't think all but, if I'm not mistaken, Eduard Spertsyan was is the only player in this current squad that was in that squad for that game, again, away to Ireland. The rest of this team, of course, they're well aware of it. They showed amazing grit at home, and of course, thanks to Eduard Spertsyan's wonderful strike, we're able to get 3 points. But this is the business end over here. What's going to happen, guys? Are we going to do it? Are we going to stay up? That was the target. That was the goal. Is it going to happen?
I think it's realistic. I mean, looking at Ireland, there's the psychological factor. Aside from the last time we were there at the Aviva Stadium, which it's beautiful, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful stadiums in the world, and I love Ireland and everything, but there's the psychological aspect to it. That last time out, bro, the Irish players were so frustrated. I don't know if you remember the looks on their faces. There's that, first and foremost. Secondly, rotation is this time out. It's only 2 games instead of 4 in 10 days. This time out rotation is not going to be that important, and we have a much. I do not hesitate when I say we have a much better squad than last time out, which is ridiculous because when you have 4 games in 10 days, you need a better squad than you do when you have 2. But I guess the worst part is over. Now we have a lot more things to be optimistic about, at least on football. And lastly, on the one hand, Ireland, if we focus on them, our game is the one they're going to be focusing on because they have Scotland away and then they host us. So they're going to be all in for the game against us. The closer at home, they're not going to, what they want to do. They want to impress their people, their fans, and close the season in a successful manner. But they also have other players that have downgraded and visibly downgraded their clubs,
and they travel away to Scotland.
Yeah, but that's not
for their first match.
Yeah, that plays a role a bit.
That does. No, it's not the travel part that plays a role, but Trottis is right. They're playing their first game away from home, and like we said, if Scotland gets that result against Ireland, let's just say a Scottish win, that still leaves Ireland on 4 points. And if we get a result at home against Ukraine, by result I mean 3 points, a draw is good enough for us away. That's psychologically speaking, going into that match, that can play a lot in both Irish and Armenian players' heads. And so I think, of course,
definitely. The psychological aspect is going to be huge.
Because going into the match, they could be bottom just as easily as we can be bottom. So there's a lot to play for here. Clearly, if we somehow stay up in this after these 2 games, I would be ecstatic. Of course, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and after that opening win against Ireland, I had a lot more hope, not of promotion. I knew we weren't going to get promoted, but I was hoping we would be at a better. I was hoping we would be in a better position. We would be on 6 points. That was the hope. But
we're not that far away either. So
we're not. Yeah, and like I said, 7 points here is enough to keep us in. Even 6 points here is enough to keep us in. This is realistically what it comes down to. We've said it all. We've talked about it. Now it's time for the boys to do the thing on the pitch.
Yeah. Plus, Cap is a master of psychology, and as you said, the psychological part will be key, at least in the Ireland game. So I fully trust Cap, especially now that I'm seeing that he has a lot more freedom to choose his own team and do his own thing. I look, I'm usually not the one that's optimistic, but this time I can't help but to be optimistic. It's
That's
great.
a good sign. Chadens, how are you feeling?
The first game is, obviously, mathematically and in every other way, it's the most important. But the performance of the first one, not just the result, the performance of the first one is the most important thing for me, because mathematically this is very achievable, and looking at the squad, it looks very achievable.
I agree. It's going to be a crazy roller coaster as usual. We will be talking about it live. We'll probably be doing a pregame show for the match that's on Saturday against the Ukraine, and then Tuesday away to Ireland. So if you don't already, please follow us on all of the social medias. We will be providing coverage leading up to these games. UEFA Nations League, Armenia, name a better duo. That is all for us today here on Football Kentron. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on all the platforms. Tweet about us. Hashtag Eduard Spertsyan, the GOAT, the child prodigy. Am I missing anything, boys? Anything, last words?
Not really. I mean, huge week ahead, football-wise and not. Of course, we're going to be all over it. So stay tuned. Reach out if you want to know something, if you want us to know something, whatever. We are here, and we'll do our best. We will go on, and they tried to bury us, but each time they try, we just get better.
We aim for victories.
Yeah, baby.
All right. That's it for Football Kentron. We will see you guys on Saturday for the match against you. Peace.